I think Elon believes that we could be living in a simulation. Do you ever think about that?
Well, that's an interesting idea, and it's being promoted by a philosopher at Oxford, actually, called Nick Bostrom. It's very hard to disprove, and Nick Bostrom thinks it's not only hard to disprove, he thinks it's highly likely. His version of that idea is that the simulation is not a different life form on another planet or something, but is our own future.
Right.
That our own future, which may be artificial intelligence, reaches the point where it makes a simulation of its own past, of the process that gave rise to it, including us, including the whole of evolution, and including us. And it is hard to disprove. I've even thought of a wrinkle on that, which is, you just mentioned mobile phone. When I would pull out my phone to my 102-year-old mother just before she died, and would do things like ask Siri something, or show her a map of where she was born, or something she was. But how could all that information be in that tiny little thing? Well, it's not in it. It's in the cloud. It's in a computer in California or somewhere, and the information is brought into this little tiny thing in your pocket. If Nick Bostrom is right that we're living in a simulation, it is a bit of a baffling mystery how the human brain, this very small skull, can manage to do so much. I mean, when you think about what it can do, which computers can't do, maybe it gets its information from a cloud. If we're in a simulation, there's no reason why the information should all be inside there. It could be in the giant computer that's running the simulation, and so I rather like that little wrinkle on the theory that we're living in the Nick Bostrom theory. I first met the theory in a lovely science fiction book called Counterfeit World, by Daniel F. Galloy. Lovely. He's one of my favorite science fiction authors, it's an adventure story, but it's set with the idea that we're living in a simulation.
Does that mean that the concept of evolution might be simulated as well?
Well, I think, however, even if you do think that we're in a simulation created by an intelligence, which may be ourselves in the future, or our computers in the future, or maybe an extraterrestrial one, nevertheless, you cannot get away from the need to say that at some point that civilization has evolved.
Right.
It can't just spring into existence. This is my most fundamental creed, I suppose, that you cannot get complexity from nothing. It's got to come from somewhere. And the only way it can come is by slow, gradual, incremental steps. So even if we are the product of some superior civilization, that superior civilization has got to have evolved. And if that one's the product of an even more superior one, sooner or later that's got to be brought to an end in an evolutionary process. So when people say to me, don't you think there may be beings in the universe so superior to us that we would call them gods? I say, yes, we might call them gods, but it's very different from the kind of God that didn't need to evolve. Those superior beings in space, if we ever meet them, maybe we would bow down to them as gods, but they would have to have evolved in the first place. You can't just magic things into existence. They've got to have come from some incremental process.
Right. And that's why you're convinced if we find life on any other planet, it's going to go by these fundamental laws of
Yes,
evolution.
it's got to have evolved by gradual degrees, which may be different in detail from ours, but will still have the same incremental, I think, Darwinian, in some sense Darwinian steps.
Yeah. You like science fiction. Have you always, and why?
I haven't read all that much science fiction. I like Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Daniel Gallo, as I said, Fred Hoyle. But I'm not a great connoisseur of it. I've never subscribed to the science fiction magazines. I just read a few books.
Okay. What book is next for you?
The Genetic Book of the Dead, which the title is a play on the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but what it's about is, if you look at an animal, it is the product of natural selection of its ancestors. And I want to make the case that it is a description, its body and its genes are a description of the ancestral worlds in which its ancestors were selected to put it together. Now, if you look at a highly camouflaged animal like a desert lizard, which has a beautiful picture of stones, pebbles and sand on its back, put together by natural selection, that is a description of a desert landscape painted on the back of this lizard by natural selection of its ancestors. You can read desert from that animal. You can actually read a description of the ancestral worlds in which that animal's ancestors lived, desert. And similarly, if a moth that's on or a frog that's on tree bark that looks exactly like the lichen of a tree, that's a description of ancestral worlds. Well, if the description on the surface of the animal is a detailed description of its ancestral worlds, the interior of the animal must be no less a description of the ancestral world, just less obvious. The surface of the animal is extremely obvious to us because our eyes are used to looking at things, but our eyes are not used to looking at the interior of cells and animals, and plants, so we don't immediately read it in the transparent way that we read the external surface. But zoologists of the future will be able to read every detail of the whoop and woof of the animal. Every detail will be legible to them using more sophisticated instruments than eyes to construct the ancestral worlds in which natural selection shaped the animal, and especially when you look at genes, which we're just beginning to do now.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.